So I saw Talk to Me in Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Mutant Mayhem this week, and let me just say, guys, we've been eating good all summer long. I mean, what's it been? Bo is Afraid? Awesome movie. Super fucking weird, though. Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. By the way, if you haven't watched my video on it, please do. Asteroid City, which I was kind of meh on. Fast X, which I liked because I had the supreme innate ability to turn off my brain and just enjoy things. The Little Mermaid. I mean, I'll be honest, I didn't even see it. Just heard mixed things, so whatever. I'll get to it later on down the road. Transformers Rise of the Beasts. Yeah, I didn't see that one either, because I think Transformers are fucking lame. Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse, The Flash, Pixar's Elemental. I didn't see that one either. Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny. Wish I didn't fucking see, I guess, except for the last couple minutes. Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1. And we even got Haunted Mansion, if that's your thing. You know, if you're into movies about Disney rides. And I know I hadn't made a video on most of those, but hey, if you guys want them, I mean, I wouldn't mind, you know, going back and covering them all and making little small reviews for all of them. And of course, we got Barbie and Oppenheimer. And yes, I'm still working on that video about those two. It's kind of long, and I've just got some other stuff going on, so it's taking a bit of time, but it's coming, and it'll be worth it, trust me. So yeah, I mean, we've had a pretty good summer for movies. I mean, for the fans, because financially, you know, it's pretty rough for a lot of these movies, except for a select few of them. But enough about all those other movies. Let's talk about, well, let's talk about Talk to Me.
Talk to me.
Directed by duo Danny and Michael Filippo, I hope I pronounced that correctly, also known as Raka Raka on YouTube. To put it simply, Talk to Me is about a group of teenagers in Australia who use demonic possession to get high. Now, I actually grew up watching Raka Raka on YouTube. It was them and the formerly known Corridor Digital that kept me dreaming about making YouTube short films as a youth. And you know, I stopped watching them after a certain age, but man, seeing them again after all these years as legitimate Hollywood directors for a studio like A24, as a fan of theirs, I'm just so over the moon to see them succeed like this. Although, oddly enough, you wouldn't really know that they made this movie. At least I didn't know when I first saw the trailer. See, on YouTube, they're mostly known for making very fast-paced and wild action-based videos. And, of course, they're the original creators of this classic clip that I'm sure you've all seen at one point on the internet. But how's the movie? I'm sure y'all have been asking yourselves for the past couple minutes. And I'm happy to report that the movie was a very solid flick. I don't want to say enjoyable, even though it definitely was enjoyable. I don't want to use that word specifically because there's just like a lot of fucked up shit in this movie. You know, I mean, a lot of the horror sequences and some of the gore had me cringing and fidgeting in the theater. I thought the performances were solid throughout the movie, and it had a nice pace to it. It never really dragged, thankfully, and I found the camera work here to be really effective. The scenes with the hands specifically. You know what I'm talking about if you've seen it. Really good stuff. And of course, yeah, the gore is pretty good if that's your thing. There's some really gnarly stuff in this movie. And also, spoiler warning for those who haven't seen it. I'll leave some timestamps down below for you to skip this part, but I couldn't help but feel like that one scene where Mia goes to hell or whatever and sees Riley getting fucking torn apart was sort of an homage to 1989's Society, the shunting scene in particular. Although I found the shunting in Society a bit more visceral and nasty than Talk to Me's hell scene, but, you know, maybe that's just me.
We'll get to the bottom.
Oh, God.
Of this.
I'm really sorry I just made you watch that. Spoilers aside, as for some of the negatives, and I say negatives because it's just a personal issue that I had with the movie, I found the character of Mia kind of unlikable. I mean, at a certain point in the movie, I kind of just wanted her to get what was coming to her. I mean, I also thought most of the characters that we see throughout the movie are like really fucking stupid. Like, our main group of characters keeps doing stupid shit and then wondering why bad stuff starts happening. But I also get that that's the point, considering the subject matter. Plus, you know, it's a horror movie, so it goes hand in hand, I guess. You gotta have stupid characters doing stupid shit. But I also just didn't really have much sympathy for Mia's motivations either. Like, I get it. I totally understand where she's coming from and why she's doing the things that she is. I just didn't really care too much about it. or her personally. And I know that sounds like a huge negative, that the main character is unlikable and that I didn't really care too much for her, but I swear it doesn't really drag down the movie as much as you think it does. If anything, it feels attentional a lot of the time with her. I think that she's supposed to be unlikable for a lot of the runtime. Regardless, all in all, a really solid directorial debut by these guys. Even though I found it pretty predictable, and I don't think there's a whole lot in here that any hardcore horror fan hasn't already seen plenty of other times, still, I'm very excited to see what they do next. And I'm going to be there, opening day like I was for this one, waiting to support them. On the flip side now, I also saw Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Mutant Mayhem this week. And for the sake of all of you and myself, I'm just going to call this movie Mutant Mayhem for the rest of this video. So, directed by Jeff Rowe, who also helped pen the script for another great animated movie, The Mitchells vs. the Machines, back in 2021.
Dad, doesn't that sound steep and dangerous?
Katie, what could go wrong?
Why would someone build that?
Comes Mutant Mayhem. Obviously inspired by Spider-Verse's animation style, Mutant Mayhem acts as a sort of reboot for the Turtles. We get their origin stories again here, albeit a little bit remixed, and is portrayed with a huge cast of other mutants, giving the audience some nice fan service throughout for hardcore fans of the franchise. But alright, let's just cut to the chase, alright? How were the Turtles? They were great. I've seen some people complaining about how they're acting in the trailers leading up to the film, but they're teenagers, man. I mean, it's in the title. And I also thought that this film has some of the best representation of teenage in Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. The Turtles were constantly dishing out pop culture references, some of which I didn't love, to be honest, but my theater laughed at every single reference, so, I mean, it must have been working. They were charming, endearing, and incredibly funny overall. And I want to stay on that point for an extra second here because I thought this movie was very funny. I found myself constantly laughing throughout the entire thing. I was very, very pleasantly surprised by how legitimately funny this movie was. I also just really appreciated the sense of camaraderie and the brotherly love that the Turtles shared. It all came across very fresh and very organically, I thought.
Wait, what's our last name?
I've never thought about that, actually. I don't know.
Do we not have last names?
Oh, who are we?
It's okay, I'll just break it up. Michael, Angelo.
That makes you Leonardo.
No, it
Leonardo, he's sensitive.
I think every turtle gets stuff to do, but most of the film seems to steer towards Leonardo. I won't say that he's the main character or anything like that, because they're all the main characters, right? But Leo seems to get just a bit more of the spotlight than others. Besides, he's a leader after all, so it makes sense. I also found it really interesting how the turtles aren't totally themselves just yet as we know them. Leo's coming into his own as the leader of the group, Mikey's figuring out what to do with his abundant energy, Donnie's finally unlocking his incredible intellect, and Raph's just beginning to tap into his rage. It really seems like they're just getting started, and I can't wait to see what's next in any sequels that we get in the future. April O'Neil was cute in the movie too, and she had a really great stake in the story, as well as some great gags. I found her internal clash of wanting to be a star reporter, as well as having stage fright, relatable and endearing. I found it to be a nice change for the character. And then we have Jackie Chan as Splinter, who I thought was great, and I really liked what they did with this character in this movie. That might be a hot take though amongst diehard fans because of, what they changed, but I was all for it. And while we're on that, something I want to touch on very quickly is just the origin story of everybody, of the Turtles and Master Splinter. Without spoilers, yes, it's a bit different than what we're normally used to, but it's truly minuscule. As someone who grew up watching Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, I didn't have a problem with the changes whatsoever. If you're one of those people that I've seen online who are fucking bitching about the changes in this movie, please go outside and touch grass. It's a movie about Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Stop taking it so seriously. The essence of each character isn't lost at all in this new rendition. And as I'm sure was the main talking point when the trailer first dropped, the animation is supremely crisp and amazing looking. The whole film has a sort of scrapbook concept art type feel to it, similar to Mitchell's vs. the Machines actually.
Get to the bridge if you want to live! What about Prancer? Prancer belongs to the canyon now!
Almost like what a teenager would doodle while in their notebook. And, since the animation is so fantastic looking, that also means that the action sequences are great looking too. And boy, is there a lot of that in here. I guess the trailers didn't properly prepare me for it, but Mutant Mayhem has a lot of action. And let me tell you, for a kid's movie, it was surprisingly violent. Some people in this movie straight up get fucking murdered. Like, dudes are constantly getting stabbed in the fucking head and dropping like flies throughout, and I was very shocked by a lot of it. Splinter and the Turtles did not hold back on some of the goons here, and it was pretty wild to see. And, you know, speaking of dropping like flies, let's talk about the main villain, Superfly, played by Ice Cube. To put it very simply, I thought he killed it. I want to say every single line Ice Cube gave in this movie, at the very least, put a grin on my face. I found him to be arguably the funniest character in the entire movie. And that may sound kind of off-putting since, you know, he's the villain of the movie. I know how people feel about comedic relief with villains nowadays, but a lot of it didn't really feel like it was played for jokes. Like, Superfly was always dead serious, he just so happened to be saying a bunch of funny shit. I can't properly explain it, you'll just have to watch the movie to get what I mean. Of course, the other cast of mutants are good too, and they were really fun to watch. Although they didn't really have much to do, if I'm being completely honest, which kind of transitions us into the issues that I had with the movie. Ironically, because I usually complain about how long movies are to my friends, I thought this movie was too short, actually. Now, a movie being 90 minutes on the dot is amazing, and I applaud the filmmakers for getting that done. Too many movies nowadays are too fucking long and overstay their welcome. Indiana Jones, Spider-Man, Oppenheimer. And I think most people are going to appreciate the short runtime for Mutant Mayhem, but for myself, I actually thought just an extra 10 to 15 minutes could have gone a long way, particularly for the characterization of the other mutants. Again, I found most of the other mutants really funny and engaging, but I didn't really know anything about them, or even get much characterization from them. They all seemed pretty one-dimensional, and they were kind of just along for the ride, you know? And again, if I'm being totally real here, if you cut out every other mutant besides Superfly, I'm really not sure how much this movie would even change, besides like the very end. By the closing 5 minutes of the movie, yeah, the other mutants served something more for the movie from like an emotional standpoint. But beyond that though, they didn't really feel necessary to the movie at all. Which is strange considering the movie is called Mutant Mayhem. And I'm not saying that I wish they cut the mutants out of the movie. I mean, not at all, no. I mean, they're really fun to watch. I'm just merely stating that they didn't really feel super important to the movie. As for my other negatives, they're mostly just with the villains. I wish Superfly had more screen time outside of the final act, and I thought Cynthia Outram was severely underused. She just keeps popping up in the movie, and she felt nothing more than like sequel bait to me. Though she does lead to one of the best gags in the entire movie, so I can't rag on her involvement too much. I also wanted this video to be shorter anyway, so let's just cut it off here. All in all, I seriously enjoyed my time with Mutant Mayhem. If you were on the fence about it, please don't be. Go and watch it. You will not regret it. It is such a fun time. I legitimately can't see how you can watch this movie and not have a smile on your face the entire time. Thanks again as always guys for watching. And again, Barbie and Oppenheimer video coming out soon. Stay tuned. And yeah, be safe out there guys. See you in the next one.
Nobody's ever seen his face.
Why?
Because he kills everyone who does.
Cool.